My wife left me for her lover and tried to take my money, but got served instead. Part 1. The backstory is approximately equal to 1,000 characters. My name is Daniel Carter. I'm 38, and I thought I had the perfect marriage. My wife Melissa and I had been together for 10 years, high school sweethearts turned business partners. I owned a small construction company in Austin, Texas, and she handled the accounting. We didn't have kids, but we had plans. Travel, maybe a house by the lake, and one day early retirement. Everything seemed fine, until subtle cracks started showing. Melissa became distant, glued to her phone, and constantly working late, with clients I'd never heard of. She started dressing differently, spending more money, and avoiding physical closeness. I brushed it off, telling myself it was just stress. Then one Friday evening, she told me she was going on a girls' trip for the weekend. I kissed her goodbye, trusting her completely. That trust didn't last long. Part 2. The Discovery. On Sunday morning, my phone buzzed with a message from my friend Tom, who worked at the airport. "Hey man," he texted. "Didn't know Melissa was flying to Mexico with a guy." I froze. "What guy?" He sent a photo Melissa, laughing, holding hands with a tall man in sunglasses. My stomach dropped. I didn't explode. I didn't call her. I just sat there in silence, staring at the image, my whole world collapsing in slow motion. When she returned 4 days later, she looked sunburned and guilty. She avoided eye contact. I waited until after dinner before showing her the picture. Her face went pale. "Daniel, it's not what it looks like." "It's exactly what it looks like," I said. "Who is he?" She hesitated, then whispered, "His name is Tyler. We met through work." That was the moment our marriage died. Part 3. The betrayal deepens. Melissa moved out 2 days later, straight into Tyler's apartment. I didn't chase her. I was angry, but also strangely calm. I'd worked too hard to let rage destroy me. A week later, I started getting letters from her lawyer. She was filing for divorce and demanding half of everything: the business, the house, my savings. She claimed she'd helped build the company, which was true, but she'd also been secretly draining funds for months to pay for her secret life with Tyler. I met with my attorney, Sarah Lewis, who was sharp as a blade. "Daniel," she said, flipping through bank statements, "your wife's been moving money into a joint account with this man. We can use that." I clenched my fists. She thought she could steal from me and walk away happy. She's in for a surprise. Part 4. The Setup. While Melissa was enjoying her new romance, I quietly began restructuring my company. I moved assets, updated ownership records, and closed the joint accounts she had access to. Every move was legal and documented. Sarah helped me prepare evidence, screenshots of her transfers, messages from my accountant, and even photos from Tom at the airport. We didn't confront her yet. We waited. 2 months later, I heard through mutual friends that Melissa and Tyler were planning a luxury vacation to Hawaii, celebrating freedom, they said. The irony was almost poetic. Before they left, her lawyer sent me a notice. Melissa was suing for spousal support and claiming emotional distress. She wanted my money to fund her new life. Sarah smiled when she saw the letter. "Perfect timing," she said. "We'll let her think she's winning." Part 5. The Turning Point. While Melissa was posting beach photos with captions like "New Beginnings," Sarah filed a counterclaim. Our claim accused Melissa of embezzlement, fraud, and breach of fiduciary duty, all backed by documented proof. Her new beginnings were about to get very complicated. When Melissa returned from Hawaii, she walked into her apartment to find a court officer waiting. He handed her the papers, a thick envelope stamped "Summons." Within an hour, my phone lit up with her furious messages. "You ruined me! How could you do this? I'll tell everyone you're a monster." I didn't reply. The truth was enough. Part 6. The Court Battle. In court, Melissa tried to play the victim. She wore conservative clothes, cried during her testimony, and said I'd emotionally abandoned her. Sarah remained calm. When it was our turn, she presented the evidence: transfers to Tyler's account, fake business expenses, and messages between Melissa and Tyler bragging about getting what's his. The judge's face hardened. "Mrs. Carter," he said, "you not only violated marital trust but engaged in financial misconduct. You're not entitled to assent." Her lawyer's confidence evaporated. When the verdict was read, I was granted full ownership of my company and house. Melissa's support request was denied, and the judge ruled that she owed restitution for the embezzled funds. The look on her face, disbelief, anger, regret, was unforgettable. Part 7. The Aftermath. Word spread fast. Friends who'd once sided with her started avoiding her. Tyler dumped her a month later when her money dried up. From what I heard, she tried to move back to Texas, but no one wanted to hire someone with a fraud case on record. I, on the other hand, rebuilt my life piece by piece. My company grew stronger. I even started dating again cautiously. But honestly, one day, I got a text from an unknown number. I made a mistake. Can we talk? It was Melissa. I stared at it for a long moment, then deleted it. Some doors don't need reopening. Part 8. The Reflection. It took me months to stop replaying everything in my head, the lies, the betrayal, the courtroom. But over time, I realized something powerful. Peace isn't about revenge. It's about reclaiming yourself. Melissa thought she could destroy me and profit from it. Instead, she destroyed the illusion that I needed her. Now, when I drive past the lake we once dreamed of living by, I don't feel bitterness. I feel relief. Because I got something she'll never have again, self-respect and freedom earned the hard way. Part 9. The Lesson. People often ask me if I'd ever forgive her. The truth? I already have, not for her sake, but for mine. Anger's a heavy thing to carry, but trust? That's gone forever. And that's okay. If there's one thing I learned, it's this. When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. And when they walk out thinking they're taking everything from you, let them go. Because sometimes, losing a liar is the best deal you'll ever make. Part 10. The Ending. Months later, I signed a new contract that doubled my company's income. Life came full circle. Quieter, simpler, better. I stood on my porch one evening, watching the Texas sunset, a cold beer in hand, and smiled to myself. Melissa had gone chasing paradise, thinking she'd win my money. Instead, she found a lawsuit waiting on the beach. And me? I found peace, the kind no one can steal. Part 11. The Fallout. For months after the court case, silence filled my house like a ghost. I thought victory would feel like fireworks, loud, bright, satisfying. Instead, it was quiet. Too quiet. My phone stopped buzzing. No more angry calls from Melissa. No more messages from her family calling me heartless. It was as if she had vanished, erased from the life we built together. At first, I didn't know what to do with the emptiness. Every corner of the house reminded me of her, the faint scent of her perfume, the mug she'd always used, the stupid framed photo from Cabo still sitting on the counter. I threw that one away first. I wasn't sad. Not really. I was processing. 10 years of my life had been built around a person who turned out to be a stranger. Part 12. Melissa's New Reality. Word eventually got around about what happened to Melissa. Tyler, the man she left me for, dumped her right after the court decision. Apparently, he wasn't too thrilled to find out she was broke and under legal investigation. She tried to move to Dallas to start fresh, but her reputation followed her. Nobody wanted to hire someone with financial misconduct on their record. The few mutual friends we had stopped responding to her texts. Then came the kicker. She tried to sue Tyler, claiming he had influenced her into taking the money. The court threw it out in 5 minutes. The last I heard, she was renting a tiny apartment in a bad neighborhood, working part-time at a coffee shop. Sometimes I'd catch myself wondering if she thought about me, about what she threw away. But I never called. Some lessons can't be softened. Part 13. A Second Chance at Life. I focused on rebuilding not just my business, but myself. I started running again, joined a gym, even took a solo trip to Montana. The mountains were quiet, the kind of quiet that doesn't hurt. One evening, at a small cafe in Bozeman, I met Emily, a wildlife photographer. She had this calm energy, confident, but kind. We talked for hours about everything from road trips to favorite pizza toppings. For the first time in years, I laughed, genuinely laughed. I didn't tell her my whole story right away. I just said I'd been through a rough divorce. She didn't pry. That was the moment I knew she was different. Part 14. When the past came knocking. Months later, Emily and I were getting serious. I'd invited her to Austin for a few weeks, and things felt natural, peaceful. Then, one evening, I got an envelope in the mail. No return address. Inside was a letter from Melissa. Daniel, I know you probably hate me. You have every right to. I ruined our marriage and destroyed your trust. I lost everything, Tyler. The money. My reputation. I just wanted to say, I'm sorry. I really am. I stared at the letter for a long time. The old Daniel might have wanted closure to write back, to talk. But I wasn't that man anymore. I folded the letter, placed it back in the envelope, and threw it into the fire pit on my porch. Watching it burn felt like exhaling for the first time in years. Part 15. Karma in Motion. A few weeks later, I ran into Tom, the airport friend who'd first told me about Melissa's trip to Mexico. We grabbed beers and caught up. He shook his head when I told him how things ended. Man, that's wild. You handled it better than most. I smiled. I had help, a good lawyer, and a lot of patience. He laughed. Guess karma finally clocked in on time, huh? That line stuck with me. Karma doesn't forget it, just waits for the right moment. Melissa thought she was living her best life, but she was just digging her own grave, one selfish decision at a time. Part 16. Building Forward. Emily and I eventually bought a cabin near the edge of the lake Melissa and I used to dream about. Funny how life has a sense of irony. One evening, we were sitting by the water, the sun melting into gold across the surface. Emily leaned on my shoulder and whispered, "You're awfully quiet tonight." I smiled, just thinking how lucky I got. She laughed softly. You mean unlucky? Then lucky again? Exactly. I realized then that pain doesn't vanish. It transforms. It shapes you into someone who can appreciate peace when it finally comes. Part 17. The Last Encounter. A year later, I saw Melissa one last time by accident. I was at a hardware store, picking up supplies, when I noticed her near the checkout line. She looked different, tired, thinner, older somehow. Life had worn her down. She noticed me too. For a moment, we just stood there in awkward silence. Then she gave a small nod. Hey Daniel, Melissa, I'm no Inez de friend to there as do. Her eyes softened. You look good. Thanks. You too, I lied. There was a pause. She seemed like she wanted to say more, but I didn't give her the chance. I just nodded politely and walked away. That was the real closure. Not anger, not revenge, just indifference. Part 18. Reflection. Sometimes I think back on everything. The lies, the court, the emptiness, the rebuilding, and I realize something simple. I didn't lose a wife. I lost a weight I didn't know I was carrying. Melissa thought she was clever, chasing easy money and cheap romance, but life has a way of balancing the scales. Now, I wake up every day next to a woman who actually respects me. I run my company without fear of betrayal. My house feels like home again, not a battlefield. I learned that revenge isn't the goal, justice is. And peace? Peace is priceless. Part 19. The Full Circle. 2 years after the divorce, I got a letter from the court, the final documentation closing Melissa's restitution case. It included a check small, symbolic, the last payment she owed me. I didn't cash it. Instead, I framed it. Not out of spite, but as a reminder. A reminder that strength isn't about fighting fire with fire. It's about walking away without needing to burn the whole forest down. That night, Emily and I sat on the porch with wine, watching the Texas sky glow with stars. She smiled. You look happy. I nodded. I am. Because in the end, Melissa didn't destroy me. She taught me how to rebuild.